Hey, may I call the last Finance Committee meeting of 2023 to order, please? Thank you all for attending. I'm proud to say we have a quorum today. And I want to thank my fellow board members for trudging in on a wet and wild Monday here with weather. David, public speakers.
We have 4 public speakers today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. I'm also being asked to remind all public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that you'll be hearing a warning beep when you get to 30 seconds and wrap up your remarks. Our first speaker is Jason Anthony, who will be followed by Christopher Greif.
Hey Neil, hey Kevin, Jason Anthony here with my Christmas wish list. We found out on Thursday that the Port Unauthorized, like I call it, in other words, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, yet again, swept us under the rug, or like I call it, the West of Hudson privilege. There's going to be a fare and toll hike due to inflation. I don't believe that, because if it was due to inflation, we will do the same thing. But we're not them. We are going forward with congestion pricing despite their objections. So I think, Kevin, that you should schedule a meeting with your counterpart over there, Libby McCarthy, because clearly she doesn't hear our message. Why is it that people like our beloved transit president, Rich Davey, from his Hell's Kitchen apartment has to see the congestion coming to and from the Abraham Lincoln Tunnel, or the Holland Tunnel, or the George Washington Bridge in Washington Heights? Why is it that we have to deal with pollution and pay more on their side? It's time for us to do the things the right way, and I hope that 2024 is the North Star, like Rich Davey calls it. So that's all I have to say. I'll yield the rest of my time. Happy holidays, and I'll see you guys back in January 2024.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christopher Greif, who will be followed remotely by Matthew Buckhees Highland.
Good afternoon, members. And I know we had a nice little break, but right now, the only thing I wanted to mention is, as part of the finance, I hope we can discuss the reduced fare for the Long Island Railroad for city tickets, as well as getting the weekly also reduced fare. As my fellow colleagues and advocates have been mentioning, we do need a combo ticket to go from one part from the Bronx to Manhattan to Queens, because then it will give us an optional to transfer. Since we have Grand Central Madison, as well as the regular Grand Central, the easier connections to get where we have to go. It would also give accessibility customers, seniors, and people with disabilities an option to where they want to go. Some people might like to go to Green Acres Mall, or want to go from Green Acres Mall to the Bronx, to maybe have a chance to go have fun somewhere and speed up. It will save us time for all this congestion. And I do want to thank our finance very much for showing the reduced fare prices for seniors and people with disabilities so they can understand what the changes are. And I want to wish everyone a happy, healthy holiday. And I agree with my fellow speaker earlier. We need to work with Port Authority to remind them that seniors and people with disabilities do count, because the air train going up to $8.50, it's going to increase buses and the A train, the E train, well, more the A train, try to get into the airport. It is going to cause a lot of headaches. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
Thank you. We have 2 remote speakers. The first one is Matthew Buckhees Highland, followed by Charon Dza. Matthew, are you online? We'll switch over. Charlton D'Souza first, followed by Matthew Buckhees Highland.
Good afternoon, everyone. Charon Dza, President of Passengers United. So we're at the finance meeting, and what's so important is that we have discounts and that the city ticket weekly be established for Southeast Queens, parts of the Bronx, where there's Metro North and Long Island Railroad service. If congestion pricing is going to be implemented, then you have to give these communities which are in transit deserts, you have to give them adequate service and adequate accessibility and ways to get in the city quicker than the subway and bus. Because the subway and bus is breaking down overnight, there's issues. So we need that equity. But also, what we do need as part of the Queens bus redesign, maybe the Jamaica Center subway station should become an intermodal hub, like the L train hub, where people who are transferring from the subway to bus don't have to pay an additional fare. That's something that would truly bring equity to Southeast Queens and its residents, and that needs to be looked at as well. There are ways that that can be done with the existing Omni technology. So we look forward to seeing something like that implemented as part of the Queens bus redesign. And we also need a 3-leg transfer within Southeast Queens on certain routes that extend from Far Rockaway, or if you have to travel from like Bayside, you need that. But again, we need equity, and we're not seeing that, and that's why Passengers United has not supported congestion pricing, because we lost the Atlantic Ticket Weekly, and when we lost that in June, that was the straw that put us against the MTA. So yeah, we need equity, and we need it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Matthew Buckhees Highland.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matty W. Bucky's Highland. I want to speak today about congestion pricing concern. On Thursday, December 14th, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey approved their budget with a toll increase where Commissioners Bullrage, Cohen, Eve, Fisher, Helmy, Kelly, LaBarbera, Linford, McCabe, O'Toole, Richardson, Rosado recording the affirmative, none against. It could be a double whammy for New Jersey coming into the central district in Manhattan to pay the brunt of it. That might be good for a millionaire, but not for like working class folks. But I recommend the December 6th, 1714, somebody say. And you know what? I was going to speak to MTA Bridges and Tunnels meeting today, but I fell asleep by the time. I hope everyone stays safe in this storm. Thank you. God bless you. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes the remarks of the
Thank you,
public.
David. Thank you to our speakers. Appreciate your constancy and thoughts. Today's an important day. We're going to vote on the 2024 budget. I thank you all for being here for that. But first, a few administrative notes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the November 29th meeting, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Any edits, corrections, deletions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. 2024 committee work plan draft. Any comments? David, you want to comment on any of it?
I think there were just a couple of very minor tweaks to it, nothing much. I think you'll be voting on it next month.
Do you want to share us what the minor changes are?
I think it was just 1 month shifting, that's all.
Okay,
Actually,
well-
I take it back. There's one other item. The the station maintenance payments, normally we give you a staff summary, how much it's going to be for each county and the city of New York. And in September, October, we let you know who has or has not paid. The law was rewritten many, many years ago that if a county or municipality does not pay, the state automatically sends us the money, and they get the money through that municipality differently. So we're just taking that off the agenda as a reporting
They
item.
get the money
That's
differently.
really it. I believe it's the sales tax component that they send back. They'll hold on to it and send it to us instead.
Are we going to get the money?
We get the money.
Okay, all right.
So we're just taking that off the work plan.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. Any? Bite your tongue, sir. Okay. Any other comments on the work plan? Then we'll vote on that next month. An information item on the charter for our committee, which was discussed at governance. Anybody want to add anything on that? No? Nothing to add? Okay, great. Action items, let's start with the budget then.
Sure. The first item requests adoption of the 2024 budget and 2024 to 2027 financial plan, which is consistent with the November plan and projects balanced budgets through 2027. And I'll pass it off to Kevin for comments.
Thank you, David. Before you is the adoption material to recommend to the board for the budget. Look, I think this is a budget we should all be proud of, 19.3 billion, but it represents actually lower real spending versus the 2019 budget, where we're delivering more service both in transit on the commuter rail. This budget before you is it's an accumulation of a lot of accomplishments over the year that we've spearheaded together, starting with last year passing a budget that had assumption of federal aid, of state aid, which we got the new package with the leadership of the governor and the legislature, the board getting us back on track with the modest but recurring fare and toll increases. The agencies delivering on budgets that show the savings that we targeted of up to at least 400 million a year, and the early action that everybody has taken and the early direction by the committee and the board is paying off. Good news Friday, I should say the bad news is we parted with about $3 billion in cash. The good news is we paid off our debt to the Federal Reserve from the COVID era loan as we promised. So our debt over the weekend went down by 2.9 billion plus interest. And as David mentioned, have a good solid budget proposed for 2024 and a balanced financial plan through 2027. So I don't think there's a lot of controversy. Happy to answer any questions anybody would have. I do say, on the revenue side, we're continuing with our projections, but we have reserved some money for the fare evasion issue on buses. And I'm going to take a very close look at that as we get in towards the July plan and come back to you with our thoughts on revenue projections.
Questions?
No, just a comment.
No comment.
So just good work, Kevin, Jay, everybody else, Olga, David, who put together this budget. As everyone who knows, budgets, they used to say that making budgets, watching the whole budget process is like making sausage. You don't want to see, you just want to see the end product. But congratulations on getting us to pay off our COVID loan, on getting us in a better place than we were in 2019, and hopefully things move forward and we're on a clear and steady path.
Anyone else want to comment? Let me just say a couple of things. One, I think we have to acknowledge a couple of things. One is the composition of our revenue is very different than it was a couple of years ago. We are far less dependent on fares and tolls, and that's not necessarily a good thing. It is the nature of what's changed with COVID and with commuting patterns, and that's a fact. And as we've been attended to the forecasts made by McKinsey, it is not clear when we're going to ever get back to anything that looks like pre-COVID. We may never get back to that level. And so we've had a change. So the second point I want to make is I want to, again, thank the governor and the legislature for figuring out a way to change the composition of revenue, because we have not reduced the size of this organization and our service. If anything, we've grown the things we've done for the community, both on the operating side and on the capital side. And yet we have figured out how to do that in a way that the commuter is spending less in aggregate. And that's an incredible contribution from the state and some really creative thoughts, both in the year 2024, which we're approving, as well as in the out years where we have to be relying on it. And the third thing I want to say is there are risks. There are risks. Now, I am, like many of you, cautiously optimistic. Maybe Olga has a particular view on this, that the Fed has done a brilliant job on the soft landing we keep hearing. Well, if that continues on, ladies and gentlemen, actually our real estate revenues may actually be better than we are anticipating. Maybe there will be some upsides, in fact. I don't want to call for any, but boy, it feels pretty good where the economy, think about where we were a year ago right now. Companies were slashing jobs, not 2 or 3%, but 15, 20%. We were looking really in the barrel of not just recession, maybe even the big D word in front of that. And that was a very scary time we were in a year ago. Where this organization has gone through Jano's leadership, through Kevin's, Jay's, and the governor's overall leadership is extraordinary. So there are real risks, but boy, I'm feeling pretty good relative to where we were a year ago. And I want to thank this committee for their support. Hearing no other questions then or comments, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the 2024 budget and the financial plan through 27. Thank you, David. Second. Any further comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Budget is approved and passed on to the full board for Wednesday's vote. David, back to you.
The second item seeks MTA and TBTA boards authorization and approval of the necessary documentation to issue 2024 new money bond anticipation notes and bonds in the following not-to-exceed amounts: $4.5 billion for capital projects set forth in approved transit and commuter capital programs, $1.2 billion for MTA short-term, 12 months or less, interim working capital borrowings, $500 million for capital projects set forth in MTA bridges and tunnels capital programs, and $300 million for costs of the TBTA Central Business District Tolling Program. In addition, the MTA and TBTA boards periodically adopt reimbursement resolutions to maintain the ability of MTA and MTA bridges and tunnels to finance capital projects and capital improvement programs for the Central Business District Tolling Program and working capital and liquidity needs on a tax-exempt or tax-advantaged basis consistent with federal law. The MTA Finance Department also seeks adoption of the consolidated supplemental resolutions to preserve the ability to finance certain capital projects on a tax-exempt or tax-advantaged basis. And Olga Chernot is here to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions? Okay. Need a vote on that, I take it? Ready? Motion, please. Thank you. Second. Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention. Motion passes. Thank you. Lizette, let us proceed.
Thank you. There are 3 actions this month for MTA headquarters for Finance Committee approval in the estimated amount of $418.8 million. These are found in the December 2023 Finance Committee book on pages 25 through 30. The first item is the award of a competitively negotiated all-agency personal services contract to P&A Administrative Services, Inc. for administrative and record-keeping services in connection with the MTA Flexible Spending Account program. The base contract term is for a period of 5 years, beginning January 1, 2024, and 2 one-year options for a total of 7 years. Approximately 6,500 employees currently participate in the FSA plan. P&A has been satisfactorily providing administrative and record-keeping services for MTA's FSA accounts for 14 years. The program costs are offset by saving approximately $932,000 a year due to reductions on the employer portion of FICA taxes that otherwise would be owed on wages, resulting in a net zero cost to the MTA for this service. Following negotiations, P&A submitted its BAFO of $2 per person per month, the lowest among the 3 proposers, and this represents a saving of 18% when compared to its initial cost proposal. P&A's new contract is 41% lower than the current $3.40 price per member fee, and when compared to the existing contract, an annual cost savings of $109,000 or $764,000 total savings over the 7-year term was achieved. The total estimated amount of this contract is not to exceed $1.5 million. The next item is a modification to extend a competitively negotiated personal services contract with Caremark PCS Health, also known as CVS, for 12 months through December 31st, 2024, and add funding for the continuation of the pharmacy benefit management services for active New York City Transit represented employees, retirees, and their dependents. This extension is needed to provide coverage while the procurement process for a new request for proposal, which has already begun, is completed. This will allow adequate time to transition into the successor contract. Following negotiations for the extension, total savings of $15.8 million, driven primarily by higher rebates, was reached. The requested amount for this modification, which includes additional funding for the current contract term, is $414.5 million. The third and final item is a supplemental agreement to extend a personal services contract with Greystone Select Inc. for 6 months, January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024, to continue to provide tenant management and accounting services to the MTA on behalf of MTA Real Estate. Greystone provides tenant lease compliance enforcement and tenant rent collection and accounting services for all tenants throughout the MTA's systems, managed by MTA Real Estate. This extension is needed to allow time to complete negotiations and finalize terms for the new contract. The total amount for this extension is $2.8 million. I submit these procurement actions for Finance Committee approval.
All right, thank you, Lizette. So we have flexible spending, pharmacy benefit management, a bridge contract, and tenant management services for MTA Real Estate. May I have a motion to approve, please? Please, Ada.
So can CVS bid again or no?
Yes.
They can?
Yeah.
Okay. And Greystone, how long have you been using Greystone?
Greystone has had this contract for about 24 years,
24 years. And we're looking to extend their contract.
while procurement.
This current is a 6-month extension while we finalize the new procurement, which is
To be sent out.
to be finalized.
Okay. Thank you.
Good questions, very helpful in that. Reminds me of Chuck Merdler's discussion always of asking for new vendors and more competition. So, well, we need you to channel Chuck in that. Thank you. You know the old joke, you can take the girl out of the Bronx, but you can't take the Bronx out of the girl. So, may I have a motion to approve, please? Thank you. Second. Thank you. Discussion, further discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Lizette, back to you.
There are 3 information items on pages 31 through 36 of the committee book for Long Island Railroad this month, presented to their respective committee, and will be brought to the full board for a vote on Wednesday, seeking board approval for the awards of 1, a 5-year contract for window assemblies to Custom Glass Solution Trumbursville LLC, 2, a 5-year contract for various lighting parts to Luminator Technology Group LLC, and 3, a 5-year contract for engineering seats and related engineering seating component parts to USSC Acquisitions Corp., doing business as United Safety and Survivability Corporation. There's 1 information item on pages 37 and 38 of the committee book for the New York City Transit Committee this month, presented to its respective committee, and will be brought to the full board for a vote on Wednesday, seeking board approval for award of the procurement of 224 low-floor 60-foot diesel buses with an option for 21 buses for a total of $291.7 million, as well as related items such as spare parts, special tools and equipment, diagnostic testing, technical documentation, and training. The contract also includes an additional option for up to 425 low-floor 60-foot diesel buses. There are no M&R procurement information items this month. There are no B&T procurement information items this month, and there are no FMTAC procurement items this month.
Great. Again, as a reminder, these are information items, so that we're just as a matter of good process, because it's a big spend, we're having a conversation in front of us. So if you have any questions that may not have been asked in transit or in Long Island Railroad, please ask them now. Okay, hearing none, thank you, Lizette. Mr. Florio, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real Estate has 9 action items for consideration and approval. There's 1 administrative action item for MTA Metro-North Railroad, and it is the modification to the Grand Central Terminal short-term retail licensing program. There are 8 transactional items. 2 are for the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. The first is a license with Rosen's Cafe, retail unit in the lobby of 2 Broadway. The second is a development agreement with the Hudson Companies and Housing Works to construct a rail control center annex at 806 9th Avenue in Manhattan. The following 3 transactional items are with MTA New York City Transit. The first is a lease with Gail Lloyd Enterprises for office space at 16825 Jamaica Avenue in support of the relocated Jamaica bus terminal. The second is an amended and restated lease with LIC Northern Boulevard owner for office and warehouse space at 3300 Northern Boulevard in Long Island City, Queens. The third is a surrender of master lease property to the City of New York at the Smith and Knight stations in Brooklyn. And there's 1 transactional item for MTA Metro-North Railroad, which is the acquisition of permanent easements from New York City Parks and Recreation at the Hutchinson River Parkway extension in support of the Penn Station Access Project in the Bronx. And there's one transaction item with MTA Bridges and Tunnels, which is a license with Edward Forney for a food and beverage counter to support an employee facility on Randall's Island. Let me note just an errata on one of the items for 3300 Northern Boulevard. Page 2 of the 3-page staff summary, we note in error that the rent escalations of 1.25% a year were in the previous rent schedule. They are not. And then as far under lessor's work, it was two-tiered. The lessor's work is $100 a square foot for the extended premises, for the existing premises, and then $75 for the expanded. I'd like to mention in the minutes, and we can have an altered staff summary for the board on Wednesday if you like. And also, with respect to the action item regarding the Housing Works project, Moonsun Park from Transit-Oriented Development is here to answer any questions.
So I have two questions.
Go for it.
Explain to me the housing work one again, I'm sorry.
Moonsun?
Yeah.
So Hudson and Housing Works, they're the selected developer to build an affordable housing on the side of the RCC parking lot.
Oh, got it.
And that is part of an arrangement we made with the city back in 2007 as part of the Western Rail Yard.
Okay. And this is just continuing what is this action item that we're voting on? Giving them the,
It's to approve the development agreement.
oh,
with-
okay, we haven't done it
with-
since 2007?
No.
Oh,
The city was not ready to
move
release
forward.
the RFP, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. All right, that's good. And how many units of housing?
That's a very good question. I can get back to the committee
Great,
on that.
thank you. And then, David, the Hutchinson River Parkway extension, explain that one to me again? The Hutchinson River Parkway, Metro North,
Penn Station access.
Penn Station
It's
access?
an acquisition of property to basically, as part of the larger acquisition of property, we're widening the rights of way and along the Hellgate line through the Bronx to provide for Penn Station access.
Right,
So
I'm
we're
just
acquiring a
trying to-
number of pieces of property, both public and private.
Right, I'm just trying to picture Hell's Gate and Hutchinson River Parkway.
We can show you. I can
Yeah,
show
if
you
you
that
don't
again.
mind showing me
Absolutely.
that. Okay,
Absolutely, yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Please.
David, just after reading the Rosen's lease, that is for the area in the lobby that is currently a newsstand, correct?
That's correct.
So they would be taking over that space.
That's correct. And they would be eliminating the kiosks there that they currently operate.
Right.
And it would be a marriage of both their uses, be more of a grab and go, akin to what we have now, perhaps an expanded offering.
Thank you.
Any other questions? A wide range of real estate items, from coffee and oatmeal downstairs to continuing the fantastic work of Penn Station Access, which is deeply important, and affordable housing, which is not something we typically do, but deeply important to the city. So I'll ask for a motion on that heterogeneous mix. Thank you, Blanca. Second, Haida. Any further comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Any new business for the committee? So ends the Finance Committee for 2023. A motion to adjourn. Thank you. Have a good dry day. See you Wednesday.